Hello, this is Judy, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the March 9th, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. I will do my best to pronounce all words and names correctly, yet please forgive me if I do not. Our first article today is under Middle East, and the title is Iran Names Mojtaba Khamenei, and that's Mojtaba Khamenei, to succeed his father as supreme leader, and Saudi sharpens warning. And this article is written by John Gambrell, and that's Gambrell, Sam Metz, Metz, Karine Chahabid, and that's Chehayeb, and Sami Magdy, Maggy, of the Associated Press. And this article is Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Mojtaba Khamenei, a son of Iran's late supreme leader, has been named as the Islamic Republic's next ruler, authorities announced Monday, as Tehran widened its attacks across the Mideast to strike oil and water facilities crucial to its desert sheikdoms. With Iran's theocracy under assault by the U.S. and Israel for more than a week, the country's Assembly of Experts chose as the next supreme leader a secretive 56-year-old cleric who maintains close ties to the country's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. The Guard has been firing missiles and drones at Israel and Gulf Arab states since the younger Khamenei's father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed February 28th during the war's opening salvo. The war has shaken global energy markets, pushing oil prices above $100 a barrel and leading to tighter supplies of natural gas after Qatar turned off its production. The younger Khamenei, who has not been seen or heard from publicly since the war started, has long been considered a contender for the post. That was even before the Israeli strike killed his father, and despite never being elected or appointed to a government position. There appeared to be some dissension over his selection. Political figures within Iran criticized the idea of handing over the supreme leader's title based on hereditary, and thereby creating a clerical version of the rule of the Shah, who was toppled during the 1979 Islamic Revolution. But top clerics in the Assembly of Experts likely wanted Khamenei to prosecute the war. Khamenei, who is believed to hold views that are even more hardline than his late father, now will be in charge of Iran's armed forces and any decision regarding Tehran's nuclear program. While the country's key nuclear sites are in tatters after the United States bombed them during the 12-day Israel-Iran war in June, there's still highly enriched uranium in Iran that's a technical step away from weapons-grade levels. Khamenei could choose to do what his father never did, pursue the bomb. Israel has already described him as a potential target, while U.S. President Donald Trump criticized the idea of Khamenei taking power. Khamenei's son is unacceptable to me, Trump has said. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Trump told ABC News on Sunday he wants a say in who comes to power once the war is over. A new leader is not going to last long without his approval. Iran's Revolutionary Guard issued a statement expressing support, as did the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Top Iranian security official Ali Larijani, and that's Larijani, speaking to Iranian state television, praised the Assembly of Experts for courageously convening even as airstrikes continued in Tehran. He said the younger Khamenei has been trained by his father and can handle this situation. Regional anger grows and oil rises above $100 a barrel. Oil depots in Tehran smolder following overnight Israel strikes. In a sign of rising regional anger, the Arab League chief lashed out at Iran for its reckless policy of attacking neighbors, including ones that host U.S. forces. The U.S. military said a service member died of injuries from an Iranian attack on troops in Saudi Arabia on March 1st. 7 U.S. soldiers have now been killed. Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said Monday it intercepted a drone attacking the country's massive Shahaba oil field. The kingdom followed the alleged drone attack with sharper warnings to Iran that it would be the biggest loser if it continued to attack Arab states. It dismissed comments by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, Pezeshkian, on Saturday that Iran had halted its attacks on Gulf Arab states. The kingdom affirms that the Iranian side has not implemented the statement in practice, neither during the Iranian president's speech nor afterwards. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry said in a statement, Iran has continued its aggression based on flimsy pretexts devoid of any factual basis. It added that Iranian attacks mean further escalation, which will have grave impact on the relations currently and in the future. 2 U.S. officials say that the State Department will order non-essential personnel and families of all staff to leave Saudi Arabia as Iran escalates its attacks. The officials spoke on the condition of anonymity, pending a formal announcement. 8 other U.S. diplomatic missions have ordered all but key staff to leave: Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and the consulate in Karachi, Pakistan. The war has killed at least 1,230 people in Iran, at least 397 in Lebanon, and at least 11 in Israel, according to officials. Israel reported its first soldier death Sunday, saying 2 were killed in southern Lebanon, where its military is fighting Hezbollah. Desalination and oil facilities attacked. Iran accused Iran of indiscriminately attacking civilian targets and damaging one of its desalination plants, though its electricity and water authority said supplies remained online. Desalination plants supply water to millions of residents in the region and thousands of stranded travelers, raising new fears of catastrophic risk in parched desert nations. The strike came after Iran claimed a U.S. airstrike damaged a desalination plant there. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and that's Arghchi, said the strike on Qesem Island in the Strait of Hormuz, Hormuz, had cut into the water supply to 30 villages. He warned that in doing so, the U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. In response, U.S. Central Command spokesperson Naval Captain Tom Hawkins said that U.S. forces do not target civilians, period. The Iranian Red Crescent Society warned Tehran residents to take precautions against toxic air pollution and the risk of acid rain from the oil depot attack. It also said about 10,000 civilian structures across the country have been damaged, including homes, schools, and almost 36 health facilities. Lebanon says 500,000 people displaced. Lebanon said over 500,000 people have been displaced in the week of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. The actual number is likely higher. Lebanon's count of 517,000 refers to those who registered on the government's online portal. Israel, over the past week, has called on residents in dozens of villages across southern Lebanon and the entirety of Beirut's southern suburbs to evacuate. In Beirut, sheltering families crammed into schools, slept in cars or in open areas near the Mediterranean Sea, where some burned firewood to keep warm. Israel's renewed offensive began last week after Hezbollah launched rockets towards northern Israel during the Iran war's opening days. Metz reported from Ramallah, and that's Ramallah, West Bank. Chehabyeb, and that's Chehyeb, from Beirut, and Megdi from Cairo. Associated Press journalist Melody Lindman in Tel Aviv, Israel, Matthew Lee in Washington, Christopher Weber in Los Angeles, and Amar Madhani, Madhani, in Doral, Florida, contributed reporting. The next article is under GTA, and the title is We All Stand Together, Toronto Jewish Community Rallies in the Wake of Synagogue Shootings. Toronto Police Jewish leaders condemned GTA synagogue shootings over the weekend. We will not be intimidated, and we refuse to live in fear. And this article is by Aramachi Amadike, and that's Amarachi who is a staff reporter. Following 3 shootings at synagogues across the GTA over the past week, including 2 early Saturday, police chiefs and community leaders came together Sunday to address the violence against the Jewish community and deliver a message. We all stand together against violence, hate, and anti-Semitism. Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw, and that's Demkiw, said on the steps of the Sharari Samoleim Synagogue. And this is SHAAREISHOMAYIM Synagogue in New York. An attack on one of our communities is an attack on all of us. Late night Friday, Beth Avraham Joseph, and that's Beth, Avraham Yoseph, of Toronto Synagogue at Clark Avenue and Bathurst Street in Thornhill, was hit by gunfire. Minutes later, early Saturday morning, Shari Shomalam at Bathurst Street and Glencairn Avenue was struck by multiple bullets. Both incidents came as the Jewish community was still recovering from another North York synagogue shooting last Monday. Demkiw said Toronto police is treating this with the utmost seriousness, though there has been no confirmation as to whether any of the incidents were related. Our integrated gun and gang task force, along with other specialized teams, are working very actively on this investigation and collaborating very closely with the York Regional Police Service. This is a very active investigation. Since October 2023, Sharid Shomayim has been visited 487 times in Toronto Police's attempt to increase vigilance as targeted hate crimes rise. Demkiw confirmed that Toronto Police will further increase patrols throughout the community in the fallout of the past week's events. The police chief also emphasized that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Though Mayor Olivia Chow was not in attendance, Deputy Mayor Mike Coley delivered remarks. Despite all the incredible work and care of the Toronto police, they cannot do this alone, Cole said. This is not a local police matter. This is an internationally inspired, funded, directed attack on the Jewish community. The Eaglin Lawrence, counselor, said federal and provincial governments have failed to provide adequate assist to address the Jewish community's growing concern of anti-Semitism. Cole said a combined task force that includes the OPP, RCMP, and CSIS is necessary in order to combat recent events that are terrorizing the people of Toronto and Canada. I want money on the table, boots on the ground from the federal and provincial governments, Cole urged. His sentiment was echoed by Noah Shak, CEO of the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, which is the CIJA, who elaborated on the resources required to assist Toronto's Jewish population. There is a need for focused initiatives to push back against the kind of hate and intimidation, harassment, and violence that we're experiencing, he said. Speeding up the access to resources so that it's not a cumbersome process that can span many months so that we actually get those measurements in place. Shak said that the gunfire didn't come from nowhere, reminding those in attendance that the Jewish community has been subject to increasing attacks that he believes are motivated by protests held around the city that moved into our neighborhoods and began targeting synagogues, our schools, our community centers. And now we're confronted with shots fired at 3 synagogues, he said. This weekend's attacks targeted the Jewish community. DemQ confirmed to the Star that there have been an increase in hate crimes against members of the Muslim community as well. The press conference was concluded with a prayer by Sam Taylor, senior rabbi of Shari Somahayim. In an email to the Star, Taylor expressed resilience, stating that the Jewish community will continue to go to our synagogues and our community gatherings, and we will not be intimidated, and we refuse to live in fear. There's a correction. This article was updated from a previous version to note that Deputy Mayor Mike Cole is not a member of Sharid Somahan congregation. The synagogue is located in the ward that he represents. As well, the previous version misspelled Eglinton, and that's Eglinton. And Armachi Amadike is a staff reporter with the Star. He can be reached at his email, which is AAMADIKE at symbol THESTAR.CA. Our next article is under federal politics, and the title is Mark Carney calls 3 by-elections for April that could lead to Liberal majority. Recent conservative defections mean Liberal by-election wins could give the PM a 1-seat majority. And this article is written by Ryan Tumilty, Tumilty, of the Ottawa Bureau. Prime Minister Mark Carney has called 3 consequential by-elections, which could be the path to a Liberal majority government if his party can win all 3 contests. Carney announced Saturday that by-elections in the Toronto ridings of University Rosedale and Scarborough Southwest, along with the Montreal area riding of Terrebonne, will take place on Monday, April 13th. The Liberals were elected in a minority last year, but 3 Conservative MPs, Matt Genereux, and that's Jenerous, Chris D'Entremont, and that's D'Entremont, and Michael Ma, M.A., have since crossed the floor. The Liberals previously held all 3 seats in the coming by-elections, and if they hold on to them, they will have a 1-seat majority. That narrow majority would likely protect the government from falling in any confidence votes, but because it would rely on the Speaker to break ties, it would not allow them to limit debate or force their agenda through. Of the 3 by-elections, the most hotly contested is expected to be Terrebonne, which Liberal Tatiana Auguste, and that's Auguste, won in last year's election over Bloc Québécois, and that's Quebecois, candidate Nathanalie Sinclair Desgagne, Desgagne, by a single vote. After 2 recounts and court challenges, the Supreme Court nullified the election result in mid-February because of concerns about mail-in ballots that had been improperly addressed. Both Auguste and Sinclair de Synagogue will be on the ballot again, and given the stakes, the race is likely to get significant attention from Carney and Bloc leader Yves François Blanchet. And that's YVES FRANCOIS BLANCHET. The NDP had put forward the same candidate from the last election, Union advisor Maxime Ben Boudon, BEUDOIN. The Green Party has named architect Benjamin Rankin as their candidate. The two Toronto ridings are expected to be much less dramatic, as they are both considered safe seats for the Liberals. University Rosedale was Chrystia Freeland's riding until she announced her resignation after accepting a position as an economic advisor to the Ukrainian government, along with a position as CEO of the Rhodes Trust. Freeland won the riding with 64% of the vote last year, and the Liberals have tapped Danielle Martin, a doctor and chair of the University of Toronto's Family Medicine Department, as a candidate. The NDP are running Serena Purdy, who ran for the party in last year's election. Purdy is a community advocate for the Kensington Market area and an academic with a focus on healthcare. The Greens are running Andrew Massey. Scarborough Southwest is the other open Toronto riding where a by-election will be held. Former MP Bill Blair resigned his seat in that riding to become Canada's High Commissioner in London. Blair also won his seat handily in multiple elections going back to 2015. The Liberals have recruited Dolly Begum, Begum, to run in the riding. Begum was at the NDP MPP in the overlapping provincial riding and the party's deputy leader at Queen's Park before she made the decision to join the Liberals. The NDP will be running Fatima Shaban, and that's Shaban in the riding, a community advocate who will run against Blair in the last election. A community advocate who ran against Blair in the last election. The Greens have named community organizer Pooja Malhotra, and that's Pooja Malhotra, as a candidate in Scarborough Southwest. The Conservatives have not announced candidates in any of the ridings, but party spokesperson Sarah Fisher said that they have many interested candidates and will be making announcement later this week. And Ryan Tumulty is an Ottawa-based reporter covering Parliament Hill. You can reach him at his email, which is rtumiltstar.ca. Our next article is under the GTA, and the title is Toronto Parking Rates Could Hit $7 an Hour Under New Proposal. Here's what you need to know. If the price adjustments are approved by the Toronto Parking Authorities Board, the matter will then move to City Council for a vote later this month. And this article is written by Alicia Wang, who is a staff reporter, and Alexa McKee, MACKIE, staff reporter. Heads up, drivers. Some street parking spaces across Toronto could soon be as high as $7 an hour if proposed price adjustments for this year are approved by the city. The Toronto Parking Authority, TPA, is considering the increases in response to a February motion approved by City Council, which asked TPA to apply a rate increase to the on-street parking locations to align with the city's financial and mobility goals. The TPA board will vote on these rate increases at a meeting on Wednesday. If approved, the matter will move back to the City Council for a vote later this month. This would be the third consecutive parking rate increase in 3 years, the TPA confirmed with the Star. Depending on approval, rates at most locations would only increase by 25% an hour in April. However, locations with the lowest rates will remain unchanged, while high traffic, high density areas may see more targeted increases. Toronto's current parking rates range from $1.58 per hour to $6.75 per hour. For example, some parking spaces along Brentwood Road in the Etobicoke Lakeshore Ward are set to stay at $1.50, according to a City of Toronto summary of proposed parking changes. Some parking along Grange Avenue in the Spadina, Fort York area would see the rate increases to $7 an hour from $6.75 an hour. Under the proposal, 43 spots in the city could see a significant increase from $4.25 an hour to $7 an hour. Elsewhere, nearly 600 spots would see a $1.25 hourly increase to $5.50 an hour. Rate adjustments are priced to encourage higher parking turnover, according to the TPA. Continued pressure on curbside parking space helps address traffic congestion and to keep the city moving, TPA said in its report. The new fees would produce an increase $2.56 million in revenue for the city. TPA oversees over 20,000 parking spaces across Toronto, operating 292 parking facilities throughout the city, including several under the operational jurisdiction of other agencies like the TTC. Alicia Wang is a staff reporter with the Toronto Star. She can be reached at her email, which is aliciawang@THESTAR.ca. Alexa McKee is a staff reporter with the Star. She can be reached at her email, which is amackie@THESTAR.ca. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our next article is under sports, and the title is International Women's Day. And the title is Professional Women's Sports Are Reaching New Heights in Canada. It's only the beginning. A look at the impact the Septres, and that's SCEPTRES, Tempo, and AFC Toronto are having at the grassroots level. And this article is written by Carrie Gillespie, Gillespie, who is a sports reporter. Allison Sandmeyer Graves has family and friends who want to talk about what's going on with the Toronto Septres and the PWHL. She quoted Diana Matheson, founder of soccer's Northern Super League, who says Canada's female athletes are a natural resource, just like maple syrup. And she follows the collective bargaining process, hoping the WNBA and players come to an agreement so the Toronto Tempo can start their inaugural season on time. Sandmeyer Graves is the chief executive of Canadian Women in Sport, regularly finds herself in conversation that weren't even possible just a few years ago when there were no professional women's leagues in the country. And this article was written by Carrie Gillespie, who is a Toronto-based sports reporter for the Star. You can reach her at her email, which is KGILLESPIE@THESTAR.ca. The next article is under personal finance, and the title is Canadians are owed $2 billion in uncashed federal checks. Is one yours? Here's how to find out. From T1 refunds to child care benefits, Canadians are sitting on $2 billion in uncashed checks, including me. And this article is written by Laura Grady, who is a personal finance reporter. You've probably seen the headlines. Canadians are sitting on $2 billion in uncashed federal checks. A report released recently in Parliament says that nearly 4 million paper checks totaling 2 billion, I mean, sorry, $2,159,665,155. Other words, $2,159,655,155 billion were sent to eligible Canadians in the past 4 fiscal years through refunds and federal benefit programs, but the checks were never cashed. The CRA issues millions of payments in the form of refunds and benefits, which are issued by direct deposit or by check. Payments can remain uncashed for a number of reasons. Recipients can misplace checks or move without updating their address. So I set out to see if I had one, and to my surprise, I did. The catch: to get it, I'd need a printer, a scanner, a witness, and a whole lot of patience. Older Canadians, parents, and more missing out. Public Services and Procurement Canada broke down the number and values of uncashed checks by government program. Uncashed T1 refunds, which are issued after tax returns are assessed, were worth more than $391 million. Small business owners and self-employed Canadians are also missing out on $387 million in GST returns. There was more than $141 million in uncashed checks for the Canadian carbon rebate. Those payments, which stopped last spring, aim to help eligible individuals and families offset the cost of the federal pollution pricing. Individuals and families with low income are also missing out on a lot of cash. There was more than $118 million in uncashed checks for GST, HST credits, quarterly payments for individuals and families with low and modest incomes. Older Canadians who collect Canada Pension Plan, CPP, had more than $91 million in uncashed checks. Canadian parents are going without money that could help with childcare expenses. For the Canada Child Benefit, a tax-free monthly payment that aims to help with the cost of raising children younger than 18, there were more than 130,000 uncashed checks worth some $42 million. Millions of dollars in unclaimed Ontario benefits. For those who live in Ontario, there was more than $59 million in uncashed Ontario Trillium benefit checks. The OTB helps low to moderate income Ontario residents cover the cost of energy, sales, and property taxes. Parents who receive the Ontario Child Benefit, which supports more than 500,000 low to moderate income families, had close to $15 million in uncashed checks. For Ontario seniors, there were more than 2,000 uncashed checks totaling $793,000 for the Ontario Senior Homeowners Property Tax Grant. Do you have unclaimed money? You can find out if you have uncashed checks, which may have been lost, damaged, or stolen, through your online CRA My account. This is where it gets tricky. To request a replacement check, you have to complete Form PWGSC 535, Undertaking an Indemnity, which you can find and download in the Uncashed Checks section of your online account. To complete the form, you'll need access to a printer, a scanner, or a scanning app, and someone to sign off as a witness. After I printed the form, thankfully I was in the office. Like many Canadians, I haven't owned a printer in years, and confirmed the details of the uncashed check. I signed it, provided my address, and found a co-worker to act as my witness by signing it and adding their own address. I used a scanner app and my phone's camera to upload the completed form through the CRA's website. The form can also be mailed to the CRA, in which case you can skip the scanner. If you don't have access to my account, you can call the CRA at, here's the phone number, 1-800-959-8281. Once again, you can call the CRA at 1-800-959-8281 to inquire about uncashed checks. You also have to call to request uncashed checks that are less than 6 months old, or for business checks, corporate tax, business, GST, HST, and trust checks. Government issued checks can date back as far as 1998 and they never expire, so the CRA can reissue a payment once requested by the taxpayer. You can cash your check for free at any financial institution in Canada. If you have an outstanding balance with the CRA, the amount requested will be partially or fully applied to your debt, and any remaining balance will be refunded. Child and family benefits, including the Canadian Child Benefit, will not be withheld due to tax debt unless it's used to pay benefit-related debts. Don't miss out on future payments. The CRA says Canadian taxpayers can ensure they never miss a payment by registering for direct deposit using My Account or through many Canadian banks or credit unions. Direct deposit means payments will be quickly and securely delivered straight to your bank account. It's also faster. It can take an additional 10 business days for a replacement check to arrive by mail, and cheaper than issuing checks. The administrative cost to issue a check is about $1.83. It will take the CRA 8 to 10 weeks to process my request due to an increase in volume. In the meantime, I've registered for direct deposit so I don't miss out on any refunds or benefits again. And Laura Grady is a personal finance reporter for The Star. You can reach her at her email, which is lgrady at symbol THESTAR.ca. This next article is an opinion article, and the title is As Mark Carney Seeks Out New Trade Partners, here is one partner that should not be ignored. And this article is written by Ted Hewitt, who is a contributor. And Ted Hewitt is a professor in sociology at Western University and the former chair of the Canadian-Brazil Science, Technology and Innovation Joint Committee and a member of the board of Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce. As Prime Minister Mark Carney and a host of delegates conclude their whirlwind tour of Australia, India, and Japan in search of new trade opportunities to help offset the potential damage of a failed CUSMA review and renegotiation, attention is increasingly falling on other trading opportunities closer to home in this hemisphere. Mexico, an existing CUSMA partner with a sizable internal market of over 130 million, has been an obvious target and one that is now being actively exploited. As recently as last month, a 370-member-strong trade delegation led by Minister Dominic LeBlanc took the Mexican capital by storm on an effort to expand direct Canada-Mexico commercial links literally across the U.S. divide. After years of on and off negotiations, discussions have resumed, as well as to forge a new alliance with South America through a direct link to the Mercosur and its MERCOSUR group of countries. The Mercosur trading area now includes 5 core member nations: Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. Its size is impressive, with a population of 282 million and a collective gross domestic product of 4 trillion. All figures Canadian, 60% higher than that posted for Canada's CUSMA partner Mexico. Few could deny that obvious advantages to Canada-Mercosur link would bring, particularly as trade with the U.S. becomes more difficult and the government of Canada looks to rack up an increasingly array of agreements with countries and trading blocs around the globe. This needs to be pursued with both urgency and a targeted strategy in hand. In this latter regard, the one stark reality of Mercosur that Canada's federal government needs to recognize and directly exploit is Brazil's overarching dominance of the Mercosur network as both a stable democracy and the economic powerhouse of the continent with a strong global presence in key sectors such as agricultural, biotechnology, aerospace, and mining. Brazil's population, at over 213 million, accounts for 76% of the bloc's totals. Its GDP for 77%. Brazil is also by far the major trading nation of the group, accounting in 2024 for some 457 billion in exports and US 356 in imports. Given the size of the market and economy and overarching importance in the Mercosur bloc, Brazil is clearly the linchpin and should be critical to the government's approach to clinching a deal. Yet, while talks with Mercosur representatives are underway, relatively few overtures have been made directly to Brazil, other than visit last summer by Minister of International Trade Maninder Sindhu, and that's Manindersidhu. In fact, it took a recent phone invitation by Brazilian President Luiz Lula Inácio da Silva, and that's spelled LuizinacioDasilva, for Carney to visit Brasilia this spring for the subject of a direct high-level encounter to even come up. Yet, despite the invitation, Canada has yet to announce the dates of a possible visit or who might accompany the PM. The foundations of growth in Canada-Brazil trade are already in place. In 2024, two-way commercial exchange was nearly $18 billion, including areas of particular interest and potential growth in sectors such as aerospace, sustainable mining, and agriculture products. Bilateral investments are now at over $35 billion, with strong Brazilian presence in Canada in mining, cement production, steel, and food processing. Not insignificantly as well, over 71,000 Brazilians now call Canada home. There are also a number of effective organizations that are developing an increasingly strong record of network building and trade and investment, such as the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce. What remains to be done, and soon, is for Canada to signal its direct intention to engage, and at the highest levels with Brazil, to quickly expand bilateral commercial properties, as well as the key to solidifying its broader efforts to align with Mercosur. As a leading member of the expanding BRICS community and the economic powerhouse of South America and Mercosur, which recently concluded a landmark trading agreement with the EU, Brazil has a lot of potential dance partners. Let's make sure that Canada is at least one of them. Here's an article under the food and drink section, and the title is This $9 Zaatar, and that's ZA''ATAR breakfast sandwich is the best thing I ate in Toronto this week. Our food reporter explores the city in search of the most delicious and affordable dishes Toronto and the GTA has to offer. And this is by Caron Liu, Liu, who's a food reporter. And the place is Makan's Zaatar and La Bente Sandwich, $9 at 866 Bathurst Street. And that's MAKANN''S ZA''ATAR and LABNEH. The dish. It's one bite of happiness after another. Bright and puckering notes of nutty citrus coming from the za'atar, a staple Middle Eastern herb and spice typically containing sesame, sumac, and herbs like thyme and oregano, immediately hit the palate, followed by a creamy come down from the La Bente, as well as a refreshing crunch from fresh mint leaves, sliced tomato, and cucumber, and just a pop of briny saltiness from the olives. There's no one way to make a za'atar, but I find a lot of blends taste very monotonous, said owner Mohammed Alkurd, and that's ALKURD, adding that he gets his extra citrusy sitar from a supplier in Mississauga. Foodies will know the West End has become a destination for Arabic dining. I wanted one with more sumac and citrus, so that every bite in the sandwich the flavor changes. The sumac is spread onto its iteration of the Levantine flatbread, the manakish, before he folds it in half and wraps it in foil as a sandwich to go. It's a simple dough of flour, salt, sugar, yeast, and olive oil, but a curd makes a thinner, slightly less doughy version so that it can hold the ingredients together like a wrap. When baked, it gently blistered and adds a soft, chewy counterpart to the vegetables. The sandwiches are made to order, including baking the manakish from raw dough, but the wait is worth it. Officially opened the week of February 16th, Makan simply means a place in Arabic, said a Kurd who previously worked in education designing curriculum programs for autistic kids but wanted a career change. The concept is freshly baked bread for breakfast sandwiches with the Palestinian flavors that I know, and it's also affordable for Toronto. It's a tiny space that can fit at most 2 customers at a time. For now, Al-Kurd said he has a capacity to make 25 to 30 sandwiches a day since it's just him working here, including making the bread dough and heading to the little greengrocers in his Parkdale neighborhood to get vegetables. It's open Tuesday to Sunday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., so come earlier to be guaranteed a sandwich. What else is on the menu? The shop stirs standard espresso-based drinks and has a concise menu of 5 sandwiches. The sitar sandwich is $7.50 with an optional $1.50 La Nef upgrade. The egg and cheese, $10, combines homoli, mozzarella, and akawi with caramelized onions, potatoes, arugula, and zesty green sauce, with a challah turkey available for $2. There's also a za'atar and egg sandwich at $10 and a laben and smoked salmon sandwich, which is $14. For something heartier, the fool and egg sandwich, $10, is a throwback to combo a Kurd's mom made when he was a kid. It starts with a fool, which is Foole, a silky mash of fava beans, tahini, olive oil, lemon, salt, and garlic, topped with a chopped boiled egg, breakfast potatoes, arugula, and a drizzle of his green sauce, cilantro, tahini, lemon, parsley, avocado, olive oil, salt, and green yogurt. Sweets come from the Palestine Bake Shop in North York. The Barazek, which is Barazek, $3, is a crispy sesame cookie with pistachios on the bottom. The Palestine Date Ring, $3.50, is a lightly sweetened date and anise cookie with a subtle licorice finish. The Dakouli, Daoukieh, $4.25, is made from pistachio paste with a cream center, best paired with fresh mint tea that a Kurd can also make. Explore the area. Makan is just across the street from Bathurst subway station in the heart of the annex, so there's no shortage of food options along Bloor Street West. However, continue heading north on Bathurst to check out Tosho Knife Arts, 913 Bathurst Street, which specializes in high-end Japanese kitchen knives. The knife I bought from there 15 years ago is still going strong. Even if you don't have a few $100 to spend on a knife, it's still a beautiful gallery to check out. And Karan Liu is a Toronto-based food reporter for The Star. You can reach him at his email, which is KARONLIU @THESTAR.ca. Our next article is under business, and it's an opinion. Beware the rules of your condominium, or you may end up paying $10,000 for a doorbell. Condo owners, writes Bob Aaron, Aaron, do not have the freedoms they would enjoy in freehold homes and must adhere to bylaws. Just ask the couple who wound up in court over a dishwasher and a doorbell. And Bob is a Toronto real estate lawyer and contributing columnist for The Star. He is also a member of the Home Construction Regulatory Authority Consumer Advisory Board. And you can reach him at his email, which is bob@AARON.ca. This is a true story about a $10,000 doorbell. It took place in the 102-unit condominium building on Highway 20 West in the Niagara region town of Pelham. In the fall of 2023, Marianne and Leroy Locke installed a video doorbell on their unit's entry doorway. They later added an in-unit washer and dryer. It wasn't long before these conveniences became flashpoints in a heated dispute with the condominium corporation. Under Ontario law, every condominium consists of units owned by individuals and common elements jointly owned by all the owners in the building. The Condominium Act requires owners to obtain board approval if they want to alter common elements in or near their units. Although the corridor door and door frame may seem like they belong to the unit owner, their exteriors are typically part of the common elements, and any changes to them require board approval. 2 years after the Lockes installed their video doorbell, the board decided that it had to be removed. After some discussion, the board later allowed the doorbell to remain in place if the owners signed an indemnity agreement. The agreement would require the owners to pay any costs and expenses arising from the alteration. The Lockes refused to sign it. A second dispute relating to the installation of a washer and dryer came to a head when the Lockes refused to allow the building superintendent to enter their unit and inspect the installation due to concerns about flooding and electrical connections. Heated discussions between the board representatives and the owners ensued. In January and February this year, the parties wound up in court in St. Catharines before Justice Joseph H. Henderson. After hearing submissions from both sides, the judge wrote in his ruling that the Condominium Act allows a board to approve additions or alterations to the common elements if the owners sign an indemnity agreement. The Act also provides that representatives of a condominium corporation may enter a unit to conduct an inspection after giving reasonable notice. The judge ordered the owners to sign an indemnity agreement covering the installation of the doorbell. He also ordered them to permit the board and its representatives to enter the unit upon reasonable notice. Noting that the corporation was successful on both the doorbell and inspection issues, the judge ordered that the owners pay the building's cost on what the law calls a full indemnity basis. In other words, all of its legal expenses. These he fixed at $10,000, an enormous sum for a doorbell and inspection of appliance connections. The court's decision serves as a reminder that the condominium living is based on a compact combining collective responsibility and individual ownership, even if the owners do not agree with the rules. Unit owners do not have the freedom they would enjoy in freehold homes, and they must adhere to the condominium rules, bylaws, and legislation. Condominium living is not for everyone, since it requires surrendering of some full autonomy and living by rules set by others. Sometimes those rules, or their enforcement, may seem arbitrary or petty, but that is the price to be paid for community living in a condo setting. Failing to appreciate that there must be a balance between individual rights and community rules can leave neighbors facing off, not just in hallways, but also in courtrooms. Our last article today is again by a money coach, and it's an opinion. The CRA is launching a faster and simpler way to file your taxes today. Are you eligible? And giving more Canadians access to Simple File is part of a series of measures proposed by the federal government in the 2025 budget. and this article is written by Laura Grady, who is a personal finance reporter. Question: what is Simple File, and how can I find out if I can use it to file my taxes? Simple File is a free service from the Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, that allows lower-income Canadians with a simple tax situation to file their taxes by answering a series of quick questions. There are no complex forms involved. Simple File uses your answers plus the information the CRA has on file to complete and process an income tax and benefit return on your behalf. It takes between 5 to 20 minutes online or by phone to file using this service, according to the CRA. These services are designed to help individuals with a lower income who do not owe tax and have a straightforward tax situation. Many Canadians don't bother filing a tax return because they don't owe money, but not filing your taxes means potentially missing out on thousands of dollars in benefits and credit payments. Filing a tax return is also one of the eligibility requirements to apply for programs such as the Canadian Dental Care Plan. New this year is that this free and simplified digital option is available to invited individuals as well as those who do not receive an invitation, which means 3 million Canadians will be eligible for Simple File. Simple File services will be open to eligible individuals to file their 2025 income tax returns on Monday, March 9th. Invitations will be sent out in March to eligible individuals with a filing history, and in the summer to individuals who have never filed before or who have not filed in a while via e-delivery accessible in an individual's CRA My Account, as well as through letter mail. If you don't receive an invitation by mail or by your online CRA account and think you may be eligible, you can check your filing out with a new online eligibility questionnaire at, here we go, CANADA.ca/SIMPLEFILE under the Simple File digital link. Income thresholds for eligibility vary between provinces and territories and are based on factors such as age, province of residence, and disability status. Giving more Canadians access to Simple File is part of a series of measures proposed by the federal government in the 2025 budget. One proposed legislative measure is a small pilot program that would give the CRA the authority to file a tax return for the 2025 tax year on behalf of eligible individuals beginning in the fall of 2026. Another proposed measure would offer pre-filled income tax returns for approximately 1 million eligible individuals starting in 2027 for the 2026 tax year, scaling up to 5.5 million by 2029 for the 2028 tax year. Those who qualify would be able to access a pre-filled income tax return online in their CRA account to review, update as needed, and accept. Then they'll receive government benefits they qualify for. And Money Coach is a weekly feature that helps Canadians find helpful solutions to personal finance challenges. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 9th, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star. Your reader has been Judy, that's me, and I appreciate you listening, and I hope you take great care of yourselves and have an amazing day, and thank you so much for your time.